Hi, welcome back to Burning River Bushcraft. Today we're going to be making a figure-8 descender slingshot. So I saw a couple of pictures of these online. This is a descending carabiner, and these are available on Amazon. These are not that expensive. These are super strong. So this is aluminum. And what people are doing are they're cutting these down and making a small pocketable slingshot. So I saw that and I just thought that was the greatest idea I've ever seen. If you look at the overall size of it, you can almost see a slingshot right from the get-go. This is going to be a nice compact slingshot, very similar to the bush pot compact slingshot that I made. But this thing's going to be bulletproof. This is going to be, strong enough to bet your life on when we're done with it. So because we almost have a slingshot here right away, I'm just going to go ahead and give myself some marks and make a cut. So I'm going to be using my angle grinder to make these cuts. I'm going to make them nice and square across. Now I'm going to be using my bench grinder or my belt grinder to level these up. So I want to be slightly above center. So I want it almost to be curling back to itself, and then I will use my grinder where I have a little more control, my belt grinder, and even up my forks, and then I'll make them nice and smooth. So of course you could be using a hacksaw and files and sandpaper to clean this edge up, but I'm just going to speed the process up, cutting it off with the 4.5-inch angle grinder, and then I'm going to take it inside of the belt grinder and just clean these edges up. So I'm going to have latex going across this. So the bands are going to go over the top. So I want to make sure this is level, which this is pretty good. And then just camfer these edges nice and smooth. So if this is the kind of thing you like to see, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment in the comment box, and ring the bell to be notified of my latest videos. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook at Burning River Bushcraft. I teach outdoor classes as well at outdoorcore.com. So this thing's probably ready to go like it is. This is like butter smooth here on top. I went through up to 240 grit and it's nice and rounded. I'm going to use some shrink tubing that I've got just to cover this edge a little bit, make it look a little bit nicer, and it'll give the band something to grab a hold of. So now to dress up the ends a little bit, I've got this is electric heat shrink. So this is available at hardware stores. It's not that hard to find. And I'm just gonna work it down about as far as I'm able. So I'll try to get both sides about the same. And I'll go ahead and trim off both ends. I took it in and hit it with my heat gun real quick. And I've got an old set of bands here. This is actually just recycled off another slingshot. But this will work good for this demo. And I'm just gonna tie these bands in over the top. So if you're unsure on how to tie slingshot bands onto a frame like this, I've got a whole slingshot playlist on my channel. And I go over this time and time again. All right, so I got the bands all tied on. Only thing left to do is see how it shoots. I finished up the figure-8 descender slingshot yesterday and didn't get a chance to shoot it till today. Weather dropped a little bit. I've got a couple steel targets behind me here, about 10 yards away. So once I finished it, I cut the edges off with a knife, but the heat shrink is still kind of sharp. So I actually took a file and filed it down flush with the aluminum. So if you're doing this, playing along at home, you could use a rubber inner tube or anything similar to that. But if you're going to use the heat shrink like I did, make sure it is sanded and filed and all smooth on top. So both sides are pretty smooth. The bands are set up for an over-the-top configuration. And I've got some ammo here, and we'll see how it shoots. So this thing's actually a little hard to hold on to. I am getting a little bit of hand slap, so the band, because this is such a small slingshot, I am catching a little bit of the slap of the rubber as I shoot it. The bush pot slingshot, I designed that for my hand, so I had a finger hole right here and everything kind of lined up right. This descending carabiner is a little bit bigger, so I'm floating my hand around trying to find a comfortable position where I'm high on the slingshot, have a good grip on it, but aren't getting any hand slap. So it's gonna be a little bit of a work in progress. So this is kind of the grip I'm going with. I gather a couple fingers in the smaller hole of the figure 8 carabiner. This finger seems okay. My thumb, I've been moving it around a little bit. I haven't quite found a happy spot yet. So this is a little bit difficult to shoot. You can see I've got a frame hit where the stone actually hit the frame as it was passing through. And I'm getting a little bit of hand slap. Just struggling to get a decent grip on this. But for a compact slingshot, I love the size of this. This is kind of an indestructible version of my bush pot slingshot. So I would think maybe next time I reband these, I might put a little bit longer bands on these. These are cut to 6 inches. Maybe 6.5, 7 would be probably a little more appropriate for this size slingshot with the ammo that I'm shooting. But for a travel slingshot or a compact slingshot, this is awesome. I am struggling just a little bit to get the proper grip on it, but that's my hand, that's what I'm used to. So don't just make one of these and think you're gonna go out and shoot it just like a normal slingshot. This would definitely not be my choice for a first slingshot or a beginner slingshot because you're shooting it just over your hand, essentially. So, and you can see I've hit the fork already once before. So definitely not for the beginners, but for a traveler slingshot, this thing's indestructible. This is literally gonna last you forever. So it took me about 50 shots to figure this out, and I've got maybe 100 in so far today, and I'm getting pretty consistent with it. Still not a target slingshot by any means, but for a backup slingshot, or for like a lot of times I just like to travel with a slingshot, this is indestructible. This thing is gonna last you forever. This and an extra set of bands will keep you going a long, long time in the woods. All right, so if you're into slingshots, this might be something you want to check out. This is definitely not a beginner slingshot. There's definitely better things to do. Just grab a tree fork and band it up. But for a compact, indestructible, inexpensive slingshot, this thing's pretty hard to beat. Well, next time, this has been Jamie Boggs with Burning River Bushcraft. See you soon.